is the Ninja Rob Podcast with Marco Perazzo and Tim Carpenter. The podcast for the true martial artist.
Come on, bro. This is our fourth episode. Get on the program,
I'm starting off.
please.
I'm Tim Carpenter.
I am Marco Perazzo. You guys already know who we are.
You
But
didn't
it's the
let me
fourth
finish my introduction of
Well,
myself.
bro, you had that pregnant pause. I didn't know what was going on. Speaking of, anything you want to tell the listeners?
Not yet.
All right.
Still working on it.
Nice. Is the goalie in place?
What's that mean?
Come on, bro.
Is the goalie in place?
Yes. What's a goalie's job?
Keep things from going in. So what do you think?
Is the goalie in place?
But I don't understand this.
He shoots, he scores.
Right, but you're asking me if the goalie's in place.
Yes.
You're asking me if I put something in her vagina to keep her from getting pregnant while I'm simultaneously trying to get her pregnant? I didn't understand your question. Again, you need to formulate your questions better. Like that was,
Bro, I'm not Anton, number one. Number two, it's a real easy question. Is the goalie in place?
it's not an easy question because it makes no sense.
You know, we might
Is
have
the
to
goal? What's the goalie that you're referring to?
see if I gotta explain the joke, it starts losing a lot of its luster.
I don't know. If
All right,
it
who
was
are you again?
I don't know how lustrous it was to begin with. I'm Tim Carpenter, owner of Hellfish Mixed Martial Arts.
Hi,
And you are?
I'm Marco Perazzo, owner of New Jersey Martial Arts. This is
You got a couple past the goalie.
thrice.
But I still don't understand what the goalie is.
The goalie would be the pill, maybe an IUD,
Okay. A condom.
possibly.
Condom could be a goalie.
Yeah. So, or
okay.
just no.
Just, the word no.
Yeah.
Her saying no.
yeah,
no.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
So, all right, here we are.
Yep.
Bro, Worlds just happened.
Did you watch any?
I did
What'd you think?
not
No.
watch any. I watched one match.
Which one?
I don't even know. Nick Fabroni sent it to me. It was some sort of. I think somebody ripped it off of Flow Grappling.
Was it a good match? But you don't know who it was?
Two Brazilian guys.
Oh.
It seemed like a good match. I want to see Marigali versus Keenan. I heard that was a
It's pretty good.
hell of a match. There was supposedly some interesting interview with Keenan. He said it must have been the hardest match he's ever been in.
Really?
That's what he said.
I didn't see that.
Injured rib. That's why he didn't continue competing.
That didn't happen against Marigali. That was against Lowe.
Okay, well, I didn't say it happened against
Oh,
Marigali.
yeah.
So no need.
Yeah, I'm disappointed
try
because
and
he was it would have been cool to see him win a world championship.
post Atos.
Yeah,
Yeah. Did you watch it?
I watch a lot. Yeah,
Yeah. What'd you watch? What was your? So this is so not to take credit away from anybody, but Eddie Lynn sent this question in, but we were planning on talking about it. Did you watch the IBJJF Worlds Finals or catch results highlights? Favorite match or moment? So we're going to be getting into all that early.
I don't know if I have a favorite moment.
I have a favorite moment
Which one?
from the Worlds.
Yeah,
Was the
Mike Musumeci winning?
no,
Oh.
the complete viral aspect of an Instagram personality by the name of BJJ_steroids that was going around the world outing and taking pictures of certain teams and saying that all these guys were juiced up. So that's not the interesting part. But this one team actually was attacking people in the stadium, taking their phones and saying, "Are you BJJ steroids? I know it's you." Yeah. The
So
guy,
wait, who did he say was doing it?
a bunch of guys.
Atos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bunch of
Everybody
those
always
guys.
talks about
Yeah.
him.
So that Instagram account, when I found it was at 2,000. By the time they got taken down on Instagram, 18,000
Why
subscribers.
They got taken down.
Yeah. In 4 days, they picked up 16,000 subscribers.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. People were going nuts. That was my favorite moment from the
I
world.
think you sent me the Instagram.
I think so. Yeah.
They're just a bunch of haters. They said like Keenan's on steroids. Like everybody.
No. So what they were doing is they would put, I guess, on on part of the Instagram live is like, is he a natty boy or is he a steroid head? And then the fans would get to pick if they thought he was.
It's
And then they
decided by
had
the
some
fans.
before and after pictures of some athletes. Like, this is so and so 2 months ago. Look at him now.
You could also look at that as like maybe he was training his ass off for the world championships, and then 2 months later, he's been relaxing and eating more. Like he had to make a certain weight class for a tournament. So you can't.
I could understand you saying that.
Yeah, but
But so that to me was an interesting moment, and I felt like it was, as much as they were trying to out people on steroids, it really felt like it was very anti-Brazilian as well. The sentiment, because I didn't notice, it didn't feel like any Americans were pointed out to the degree that a lot of the Brazilians were pointed out.
well, it's legal in Brazil.
I think so. I know, having been down there, you can pick it up in pharmacies.
Like in
just walk
Mexico,
in.
you can Mexico you can just walk into a farm. They have it like advertised everywhere. Like as you walk down the street in Mexico, it's like steroids in this.
But I mean,
it's
in the
like a
United
souvenir
States,
shop.
you need a prescription, and there's doctor's care. So who knows? Those guys might be under doctor's care. But I thought that was super interesting to get some pushback against what people believe is a rampant use of steroids in competitive, high level grappling.
They have USADA and test the IBJJF.
Yes, they do. There were also some things that they pointed out that certain guys had been popped for steroids, forced to retire because they didn't want. They said, "Look, we're going to out you unless you retire," which was interesting as well. And some pretty famous names. Yeah, to me, I thought that was the most interesting thing to come out of the Worlds.
To me, that's actually. People using steroids in sports is the least interesting aspect of sports because
the Instagram account that outed people, because usually it's like everybody. Yeah, we all know that a ton of dudes are using steroids because there's not a lot of in-depth testing, and the testing that occurs at the IBJJF is usually for the first place winner.
It's very random,
and I don't think they do everybody supposedly. So. So I thought that was the people are using steroids. Yeah, whatever. People use steroids in every single sport that has some money attached or fame or even if there's no money attached, then they want to be really good at it to be able to train more. So the second most interesting thing I thought from the Worlds is Mike Musumeci cementing himself as the greatest American grappler of all time.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you define? You just define. So he won the IBJJF Worlds, but he's never won. How do you defining greatest grappler? Just grappler, meaning with the gi, or does that include like has he ever done anything no gi? Has he ever done?
He's a world no gi champion.
Has he done ADCC?
I don't think they had his weight class, but he just recently got invited to whatever the smallest weight class is for this particular one. So it'd be interesting to see how he does then. But I believe that the Mundials might be the hardest grappling tournament in the world.
Yeah.
And he's won it 3 years in a row as an American with what a lot of people believe is a lot of anti-American sentiment, and the refereeing is not fair, balanced, and equal towards Americans. So him winning it 3 years in a row against those odds makes him the greatest American grappler of all time.
Some of the best. He beat some of the Meows. He beat
Bruno Malfacine, who is 10-time world champion.
I think so.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I liked. Trying to think of the matches I watched. Kenan Duarte beating Lowe. That was cool.
Because Lowe usually dominates his weight class for sure.
Actually, he hasn't won a world championship in the last couple of years. Except for he got the absolute title that was just given to him because he hurt his shoulder.
Dislocated his shoulder, yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't win his weight or the absolute that year. He hasn't won since like 16 or 17. But it was cool to see a young guy like Duarte like smash him.
When you say smash him, was it a big score difference?
It was 5-2, but it was like fairly obvious he was like dominating him the whole time.
And that guy's Kenan Duarte's beaten a lot of really good guys in the last year.
He's
right?
just got his black belt, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was cool. But the thing I hate is closeouts.
Two guys from the same team, or maybe not
these
even
guys
from the same
These
team.
guys are just buddies, and
That's the worst. You know who I blame?
The IBJJF.
Flow Grappling.
Why?
Because I have a bone to pick with them.
Oh, okay, still.
Yeah. But
so you really can't pick any bones with them because you're not a paying customer.
I could pick bones with them. What do you mean?
No, I don't think so.
Why not?
You have no ground to stand on. You're not a paying customer, so you can't complain about their service.
No. So I'm making my stand by not being a paying customer.
No,
that's how I complain.
Because you still steal their content.
No.
Yeah,
they're never stolen.
You said you have
it's not stolen. Somebody's paying.
Yeah, but you're stealing.
Somebody else is paying.
Somebody's paying for themselves. They're not paying for you.
They let me borrow it. I didn't see that I'm not allowed to. They can't lend me their password.
You can't give it back, so they can't lend it.
Yes, I can.
You can't give it back to them. Once
Yes,
you
I
have
can.
it, you have it.
No, I can give it back.
No, it's impossible.
What do you mean?
Because it's not a physical thing. Passport's not a physical thing.
Well, how'd they give it to me then?
They told it to
He
you.
can give it to me, but I
Once you
can't give it
have
back.
So
So I can email him back and say, "Hey, here's your login and password."
he never
back.
lost it.
No. I didn't. Nobody said he lost it. But he said he gave the same way they gave it to me. I'll give it back.
No, it
Yes.
doesn't work that way.
No. Just follow my logic. It's the way it's going to work. So yeah, especially Buchecha and Lowe, because it is, and we were talking about it at my school today after training. The finals of the Open is probably
Biggest.
it's the most awaited match of the year in the gi, and you have these two guys, and that's awesome that they're cool and they're buddies, but they should still.
And they did
Get
fight
after it.
like 2 years ago. They fought
Yeah.
for it.
And unfortunately,
Buchecha won.
yeah, right. I mean, I don't think Lowe's ever beaten him, or maybe
No.
he just can't.
No.
And last year, Buchecha gave it to Lowe when he was all slinged up in the shoulder. And this year, they just hugged it out, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
I think in order for like jiu-jitsu, if they want to be taken seriously, like as like an Olympic level sport, and like to
it'll
be
never be in the Olympics.
well, I mean, it could someday if they change things around and
What's it? It could maybe as a like in Brazil as a demonstrate. What do
No,
they call
it
those?
could-
Like a demo sport?
I mean, you will admit that there is a process that a sport can go through to get into the Olympics, right?
Yes, there is.
Okay, so it's possible that that jiu-jitsu could get into
Yeah,
the
but
Olympics.
my opinion is that it won't.
Right.
Yeah,
So, but it is possible.
It
you
is
just,
possible.
You just don't think it can, but
I
it
don't
is
think
possible.
it can. Yeah.
So let's just admit that it's possible.
Why do we
And-
have to admit it?
Well, you just did, so it doesn't matter why. You already did.
Bro, you were late and you're angry again.
Not angry. I'm just trying to move on with the conversation. You're stuck in the past.
You're just
You
upset.
keep
that-
trying to prove, like you clearly admitted that I was right.
I didn't admit that
Yes,
you were right.
yeah, you did.
It's a statement of fact. You're not right. There is
but I
wait.
said it's a
The
fact.
International Olympic Committee has a
It's a fact
mechanism
that
in place.
It's a fact that I said, and you agreed to it. You agreed with me. You said I was right. So we can just move on now. There's no need to get bogged down in these
Hey,
kinds of issues.
do we want to get into Devin training jiu-jitsu?
But I
Or-
want to say,
wait,
if
hold- go ahead.
the IBJJF ever wants to like jiu-jitsu to be considered a real sport, they need to stop with the closeouts because that doesn't happen in any other sport.
No, it doesn't.
You know.
But speaking of closeouts, you know Devin does jiu-jitsu now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Guess what happened to him on Thursday?
He shit his pants.
No, I wish that would be even better. He injured his first training partner.
Oh, congratulations! How'd you do
No,
it?
he injured himself.
How'd you do it?
He
How
injured-
did he do it? He
I
didn't
mean,
tap.
he was going to choke me out, and I was like belly down on the floor, and I was out of breath, so I had to sit there for like 2 minutes and wasted to get up enough energy to explode up, and his leg got
Snap, crackle, possible pop.
Oh man.
Yeah. So the crazy part about it is it's our buddy Juan. This is the second time
Juan
Juan is,
Vasquez.
yeah, but not Kung Fu Kidney.
Oh.
Yeah, another. He's an electrician.
Okay. I know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, second time he's opened up for me because I was away in Detroit. Second time he's been injured for opening up on me. I'm never gonna.
When were you in Detroit?
Just a couple days ago.
Really?
Yeah,
What were we doing there?
Wednesday, Thursday.
For what?
I was there with BP.
Oh,
We were doing work.
magnetic business.
Yes, yeah. doing big things with the sales team out there.
Nice.
Yeah. So I get a text. He's like, "Hey, did you talk to Juan?" I go, "What about the kidney?" He goes, "No, the other one." I was like, "That sucks, man." But those are one of the things that this is early in Devin's jiu-jitsu career, but happens, man. You know, like you didn't
Injuries
mean,
happen.
yeah, you didn't mean to hurt him, but
Or maybe he did.
no, he hurt himself. I didn't do anything.
Right,
I was
right.
getting my ass whooped.
No, you just sometimes you move around, knees pop.
yeah, it's like one of those things in
Fingers
our
pop.
sport. You know, like people get freaked out about it, but you know, hopefully his knee's okay. He's got an X-ray.
That's also one of the things I think that holds a lot of people back. People are scared of getting injured, so they avoid training. But
It-
anything you do,
It's a
like,
realistic eventuality
I mean,
for anybody that trains.
not
that-
just training. It's a realistic eventuality. If you get into hiking, you can sprain your ankle.
Yep.
If you get into rock climbing,
you could sprain your
you
ankle.
can sprain your ankle. You know,
If
if
you
you
get
bike
into-
riding, you can sprain your ankle.
There's a lot of ankle spraining going on.
Yeah,
But yeah,
so-
I don't think injuring yourself or a training partner should be a limiting factor of you training. So
No, and it's also like, what's the injury? His knee hurts.
I don't know. I mean, he got an X-ray, but
No,
hopefully
it's
he
like
gets,
a torn muscle or something.
Torn muscle is not a big deal. They heal.
yeah.
pretty
So,
quick.
and see, this is
Torn tendon's a problem.
people get freaked out at like orthopedic injuries. Like when you need a kidney, like Juan needs a kid. The other Juan needs a kidney. Like that's a real problem. An orthopedic problem.
Not really an injury.
What's that?
Needing a kidney.
Well, maybe if you
Kind of off topic, but
no. What I'm saying is the people like, oh my god, he hurt his knee. Yeah, I get it. It's orthopedic. Like you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
they're
like
still
this-
waiting to see if he needs surgery.
yeah.
Man, this guy. I go away for a couple days. People are just destroying each other's knees. I need to
But
stick
it's
around
also
more.
like, yeah,
No, it's destroying their own knees. I want to make this very clear.
what was I forgot what I was gonna say.
Ah.
But no, like injuries, like there's a big difference between being injured. Like if he tore his ACL, that's an injury.
Who knows? Yeah, they said there was
If
a pretty
he's-
loud pop.
If he sprained his knee,
Yeah, it was loud.
that's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, hopefully it's not
the body pops a lot. Like
Yeah.
things pop all the time, and like I remember rolling with a guy one time, and it was he had like his head scissors thing on me, and just by squeezing his leg, it was like an explosion. And we both jumped back, and he was fine. It was like his IT band or something.
Right,
he
like
said,
rolled over or whatever.
like
yeah.
popped, but there was no tear. It was just like, but it was loud. Like the whole class heard it.
Yeah, I tore a guy's bicep before it going for an arm lock, and he's like trying to curl me, and I just heard like a pop, and I'm like, "You okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I'm like, "I don't know, that didn't sound good." And then you could see, look like you've had a couple of those
Both
injuries,
biceps.
yeah, just roll up into his arm.
Yeah, it's interesting, 'cause bicep doesn't hurt at all when it pops.
Oh, really?
It's like doesn't really hurt. Yeah.
Did you pop them both at the insertion at the elbow or
Yeah,
at the shoulder?
both at the elbow.
Okay.
I haven't had the shoulder.
I wonder if the shoulder, if that one hurts, but whatever.
I don't know.
But yeah, let's hope Juan doesn't have too big of a deal. A couple weeks, ice it, and then come back. All right. Speaking of fat athletes like yourself, did you see Anthony Ruiz?
I didn't see the whole fight, but I saw the highlights. It was awesome. I really like Joshua, but I really enjoy seeing like a chubby guy beating
He's-
up like a super jacked.
He's more than chubby, but we
He's
can.
kind of obese.
Yeah. I think his BMI is through the roof.
Yeah, because he's like Joshua's 6'6"?
I still would rather be built like Joshua
For sure.
without the titles.
Yeah,
Then
I'd rather be Anthony Joshua than
Yeah,
Anthony Ruiz. For sure. Even if Anthony Ruiz knocked me out, I'd still rather wake up.
So if watching the fight, Devin, did you watch those fights?
Yeah.
So Ruiz got knocked down first, and then
He got knocked down, and then I think Joshua got too excited.
He was gassed, right?
No. He tried to finish him, and he didn't protect himself fully.
they say that that's one of Joshua's issues. His defense isn't as good as it should be
Well, it's rumored that he got knocked out a week before.
in sparring. That's his trainer's fault for that one. For whatever.
These things happen. He's a professional prize fighter.
And I think he's got this doesn't really affect many of his paydays because he's got the zone.
He has his own deal, but I mean, it doesn't hurt his paydays. But I mean, it's just terrible. It's a terrible thing to happen in the middle of a storyline that leads up to these big fights. He didn't fight
like
any
a
of the
Wilder
top three
fight.
dudes.
Yeah,
he didn't fight him.
Right.
Like the big fights were Wilder, Fury, and
King Kong,
Yeah.
Who's King Kong?
Ortiz.
Oh, okay. All right. So what was super impressive to me was the second that Anthony Ruiz smelled blood, there was no doubt in his mind that he was going to win this fight.
Yeah.
Like he just, he wasn't scared and he went for broke. That was awesome. It's a great story. And I didn't realize he's the first Mexican heavyweight champion
yeah.
ever.
So John Ruiz he's not Mexican? John Ruiz, remember he fought Roy Jones?
Well, I don't know if it's that he's not the first Mexican. That could be too, but he's the first Mexican American because that dude's from California.
Ruiz? Which Ruiz?
Andy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's from
Okay.
California.
So, yeah, shout out to Anthony Ruiz and all the fat body fighters that win titles.
Yeah.
We got quite a few right now because Daniel Cormier in the UFC at heavyweight is a fat body.
There's always been like really talented fat fighters.
But just make sure y'all know his name's Andy.
It's not Anthony?
No.
So congratulations to Anthony Ruiz,
Why-
too, for getting...
Who's Anthony Ruiz?
I don't know. You wrote that.
I did?
Yeah. I didn't do any of the world's recap or the Joshua.
Must have been like an autocorrect thing or something.
Yeah. But Andy Ruiz, congratulations to winning the title and having a beautiful fat body. Yeah, so there's a history of fat body fighters.
I think
So some of them are a little more smooth than fat bodies.
Like who?
Like Fedor is a smooth body, not a fat body. You think he's a fat body?
I mean, how are you deciding who's like? What do you? I'm not saying like so. Fedor wouldn't be considered
Obese.
like, morbidly obese.
Yeah. Like Ruiz like morbidly obese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you don't even like Ruiz.
All right,
doesn't
so let's go through the list we have here.
All right.
Fedor, smooth body, fat body.
Fat. So well,
I go
depends on which
smooth.
depends on which Fedor you're talking about. Fedor post like 2006, 2007 was fat.
I think he's a smooth body. Daniel Cormier. Depending on what weight
light
class.
heavyweight,
Smooth body.
heavyweight, fat.
Fat body. All right. Cabbage,
Fat.
fat body. Tank Abbott, fat body. Tim Carpenter.
Smooth. He was smooth. I don't think he was fat. He was smooth.
Former fat body, but as a professional fighter,
Smooth.
smooth body.
Yeah.
With like that that terrible skin that problem you had with your belly from being a fat body, having all those wrinkles.
Yeah.
You look like a mother of 7. Butterbean.
Fat. 400 pounds.
Yeah.
There's no way around that.
Which Ruiz are you referencing here?
The Andy
Andy, not Anthony.
and Anthony. I bet there's a fat Anthony Ruiz out there.
Yeah, and Andy Ruiz, fat body, a hell of a fighter. All these guys are good, really good fighters. I used to love watching Cabbage fight.
Yeah. Cabbage versus Tank was a great. It was the battle of two fat guys. And you know what? Roy Nelson. We forgot Roy Nelson.
Scott Ferozzo
Ferozzo. Did you see the rematch of Tank and Ferozzo
in the
a
backyard
couple years ago?
Yeah,
that
Devin,
was
you
great.
got to watch this fight. Tank Abbott, Scott Ferozzo rematch each other. They'd originally fought one of the original UFCs. 20 years later, they fight again as like 45-year-old men in a backyard.
I don't like that type stuff. I used to watch him when I was a little kid.
You would? Did you remember Tank Abbott?
No, that's what I'm saying. I used to watch him back in the day.
Okay.
Back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. They were supposed to fight in a ring, but they lost their license. Like
Yeah,
the
so
last
they
day
fought in
and
some dude's backyard next to his fire pit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
It was about.
great.
I think it was like a 40-minute fight of Tank. He dropped Ferozzo and then he laid on him, like literally, like Ferozzo face down and Tank just laying on top of him.
It was
for
probably still better than
40 minutes.
when Ortiz fought against this guy recently as old men.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that was in an actual cage.
Yeah.
Trash.
All right, moving. Are we done with the fat body, buff body?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So on to the question. So we covered Eddie Lynn earlier. So this is an anonymous question from one of our emailers. I'd like to know who would win in a fight in their prime, Bruce Lee versus Elio Gracie.
It's the easiest question to answer in the history of questions.
Go ahead.
Elio Gracie. Bruce Lee never fought anybody in his entire life. He was an actor and a dancer. He was not a fighter. He was like a philosopher of martial arts, but he had never been in a fight. Documented fight. I'm sure maybe he got in a fight when he was a kid or something.
Right. So we have documentation.
There's no evidence that Bruce Lee knew how to fight.
There's no evidence that he ever. Okay. There's no evidence that he knew how to fight. Yes, there is.
Other than the martial art that he created.
Right. And the book that he wrote, the Tao, Jeet Kune Do.
Yeah.
Right. So there's some evidence that he knew, his concepts were, he was going down the right path, right?
For sure. He had good ideas.
Good ideas. So he knew.
I should say that he knew, there's no evidence that he could fight.
Right. Yeah. But
Not that
I think there is evidence that he knew how to
He
fight.
knew a lot about martial arts.
Yeah. And he's probably the first famous mixed martial artist, right?
No,
No?
he's a famous actor.
Okay. I mean, that's fair enough. But I mean, the art that he created is probably one of the things that would lead us into MMA as we know it today, right? JKD?
I don't think JKD had much to do with MMA. Actually, Elio Gracie had way more to do with MMA being created because his son is the one that started the UFC.
Right.
So, and Brazilians were the ones that started like kind of no rules fighting like that.
Right, but the problem with that is that the jiu-jitsu guys weren't very in striking oriented, if at all.
Right.
Right, so it was jiu-jitsu versus karate, and the JKD guys were doing a little bit of everything.
Not really. If you look at like Jeet Kune Do schools, what they mostly did was kung fu with they would throw like a couple boxing punches. They had some tricky footwork, but it was a lot of just basically kung fu. Most of Jeet Kune Do is kung fu.
Just a lot of Wing Chun.
A lot of that, yeah. But there's, you see using kung fu in the UFC is Tony Ferguson. He uses a lot of these weird
Trapping
hand trapping.
He does a lot of it on the ground, right?
Yeah. He's But so he's like a guy that a real life Bruce Lee kind of guy. Like he's just kind of mixing everything in. He takes a little bit from everything and,
Yeah,
and uses it.
he's a mixed martial artist.
Right.
That's what he does.
But Elio Gracie would have murdered Bruce Lee.
I agree.
Very
Yeah, because
easily.
Elio Gracie has fights under his belt.
Right.
Like, you could say, but Bruce Lee has demos. There's rumors that he fought people, but
Yeah.
none of that stuff. I had this question posed to me in a bar one time, and the guy was, "What do you mean he would beat Bruce Lee?" I said, well, this other guy actually has fights.
Yeah. And
Like,
Bruce,
no, the question was posed to me as, how would Bruce Lee do in the modern UFC? I go, he'd get destroyed.
Bruce Lee versus Ninja Rob.
Ninja Rob.
Bruce
bet-
Lee. I go with Bruce Lee.
Nah, I'll bet Ninja Rob. Ninja Rob, I would assume, had more street experience.
That's
You know?
true. Yeah. I mean, he's currently doing. Well, we don't want to give too much information out, but shout out to Ninja Rob. And
So we don't know who asked that question?
we do know who asked it.
Anonymous?
Well, they asked to be anonymized.
QAnon?
Yeah, 4chan. It's on a 4chan. But yeah, so Elio Gracie wins that fight 1,000 out of 1,000 times, right?
Right.
Yeah, there's no question.
Bruce Lee has no chance in any fight against anybody, I don't think. The guy
Anybody
was-
that knows how to fight
Yeah,
or has
that guy- he was-
actual ring experience or cage experience.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I also don't want to downplay the important role that Bruce Lee plays in
Modernizing martial arts.
not just modernizing, but popularizing.
Yeah. No, and you definitely give him his credit because I still walk into my martial arts supply place, which is down on the White Horse Pike. They still have posters of Bruce Lee up. They still people will.
I have a wood carving poster. Like it's a Bruce Lee portrait carved out of wood.
Okay,
Like I have it hanging up at the gym.
awesome. Congratulations.
You're welcome.
Moving on. Next question. Can you read this one, Tim Carpenter?
Yeah. How did you guys get into teaching? It would be great to hear your experiences, how you got started, at what belt, where, any training. Again, when you send these questions in, people, try to
Man,
make
the
them,
people
try to
are
make them
really-
a little bit concise.
Just read the
know,
question. Stop. You don't have a degree in English.
And also, it's question. This is like 50 questions in one.
They all lead into each
Right.
other.
Was it scary at all when you were first starting to teaching classes? Is it important at your schools to teach in order to progress in jiu-jitsu? All right, so we'll start with the first one. How
right, so let's give the guy
how
credit.
did you get in?
Oh,
Yeah, Ken Liu from Gracie Academy, Beverly Hills. He's 3-stripe purple belt. Gracie Academy, Beverly Hills. Is that
Huron.
Huron?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I'm sure it's a great school.
But very, very good from what I understand. I mean, those guys definitely Huron and Henner can teach.
I think those guys are awesome.
They're some of the best expressing jujitsu physically that I've ever seen. Yeah, those
Yeah.
guys are amazing.
How did you get into teaching?
I got into teaching because our school had kind of broken apart a little bit with the place where we started at. Things were changing there, and our friend Joe Prioli asked me if I wanted to come teach at his Taekwondo school, jiu-jitsu. Even though he was a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, he had asked me if I would basically quit my job, come and teach, and try and build up a program at his school with him. That's how it happened for me. It wasn't really scary at first to teach because I was just like teaching my friends or people that I had already known or people that I'd kind of helped before. So usually when you start teaching, you're in a place that you're already familiar with the people, right? First place most people teach is the school they train at, right? If they ask to cover a class, or some schools have instructor training programs where people go through to teach the set curriculum, stuff like that. So that's Joe asked me to teach. There wasn't there was no instructor training program, but the people that we trained under, specifically, we'll say like Phil Miglerese and Rick Miglerese, they're really good teachers, right? So like the example, they set a high bar. So you always wanted to teach really well because of how well they taught, and they had a lot of training on being teachers. So like I said, there's no real training, but having them as an example was really good for us. And is it important for my students to teach at my school? No, only if they want to teach, then it's important. If they don't want to teach, then not. There's no real mechanism that holds them back from progressing if they don't want to teach. But if they eventually, either want to open up a school or pick up more responsibility around my school, then they'll definitely have to go out there and teach. And I have a beginner curriculum that is laid out very simply so that anybody with any experience can come through and, okay, we're week 3. This is the warm up for Monday. This is the technique for Monday. This is any sparring scenarios that you need to have. So you don't have to come in worrying about or wondering what needs to get taught. You just have to teach it and, show. And I'll be there a lot of times helping the guys with how they should approach the class. I think that's the biggest thing that people get nervous is the public speaking. It's like talking to people in a setting that they're not familiar or used to talking to people in groups, and also commanding a room with confidence and authority. Because if you're meek about it, people aren't going to trust your technique. But if you speak and teach with authority, then people are gonna trust. How about you, Mr. Carpenter?
I got into teaching. I did maybe like a year or two, maybe a year, and then one of the guys I trained judo with had a karate school, and he, similar to like you, he asked if I wanted to start teaching jiu-jitsu there. I was like, well, I'm a blue belt. But he was like, it doesn't matter. Like, nobody knows anything. He's like,
right, you're like Hickson at that point, right?
Yeah. So I started teaching there, and but I've been teaching, like, I've bounced around and taught at several different places before I had my own place. So I started when I was a blue belt, basically like a year after I started learning. I taught at that gym. Then I had a guy that I worked out at this powerhouse gym, and that guy had trained jiu-jitsu, so he asked me to teach there. So I started teaching there. Then I went, the original place that I was working at moved to another location. I started teaching there. So I've been doing it for all over until I opened my own place.
Gotcha.
I didn't think, it wasn't scary at all. I was excited to do it because it just meant, for me at the time, it just meant more training partners.
Right,
Like
and you get to hang out with your friends too on top of it, right? Or people that would eventually become your friends.
Yeah. And it's cool because one of the original, because I was probably 18 or 19 when I started teaching. And I used to teach this kid he was probably 15, 16. And now he's Steve Plyler. He's like a really good black belt.
Very good,
from the gym,
successful school.
Yeah, owns his own school.
You have, what do they call it? Like a coaching tree now, like of people that
Right.
Yeah, you've developed.
So it's cool. It's cool to see, and he's been tough since he was a 15-year-old kid.
Right.
Like he's the exact same kind of. I mean, he's better than he was then, but he's the same sort of animal that he was then.
Right, and that's the cool part, because it's like, all right, it's easy for you to be good, right? But can you get other students to be good? That's man.
And I don't. It's not necessary to teach to progress in jiu-jitsu, but you should, and it's a underrated tool for getting better.
Do you think everybody should teach at some point?
For sure. Like depending on how good they want to get at jiu-jitsu, I think when you teach, in order to teach a move, you need to understand it better. So there's tons of moves that you're going to do that might happen that you don't even think about. But then if you have to teach, if somebody says, how did you do that? And then you have to break it down to them, you just breaking it down in your head will help you understand it better in order to translate to somebody else. So I think that's one of the main benefits of teaching. And I realize it in myself when I'm like, I go usually like a week, like we're doing side mount escapes 1 week or for a couple weeks. Everything that I'm teaching in class, I end up doing in training.
Right.
Because I'm basically, I drill it a couple times when I'm showing it. I'm breaking it down in my head.
And you got to prove the concept.
And then, and as I'm teaching it, I realize things that I don't even consciously do.
Right.
Or I realize I'm doing things subconsciously that I should translate into consciously.
What it does for me, on top of like doing it in class, it makes me, doing it in training, it makes me look for it more in training as well.
Right.
When we're working on, like right now, we're in a very big, like, what's our path to the triangle?
Right.
Right. And always, okay, or how do I get to the triangle?
Right.
How am I getting my finishes and that kind of stuff? And always hunting that out and just saying, okay, all right, how can I show this next path or this other thing? So.
It's like, and this actually leads really well into the next question, because it's like anything else. If you want to get better at it, it would help to like write it down, review it, practice it again, try to explain it to somebody else.
Right. So the next question that Tim's referring to is, how does a jiu-jitsu person become a better at being technical? So I'm not editing any of these questions. TJ McKeever, he's a white belt at NJMA. So, that's always you always hear people talking about, he's really technical. He's really technical. And you touched on it just a second ago. I'm like, how do you get better at that? And just working on techniques, right? But part of it, but also working on them in a way that you're doing them correctly. I know it's it's an easy answer, but that has to be important to you. That you're doing the technique. If it's a triangle, it's really a triangle. The legs are locked. You're in correct position. You've angled off, and you get the tap. It's not just a neck crank or something like that.
The problem is a white belt person that first comes in. They can't necessarily. They don't know whether or not they're doing it correctly.
Right.
They see a triangle, and it looks like the guy's legs are locked around the dude's head and arm. So anytime they put their legs around a guy's head and arm, they're like, "Well, this is a triangle."
Right.
But so first, the drilling is important to understand. Like, what should it look like? The key points of, like, if we're talking about a triangle, that your foot should be under the knee tightly, the angles you should have, the certain positions of
how it should feel.
Yeah, how it should feel. But in order to become more technical, the best thing to do is to stop competing when you're rolling and stop like fighting and just like being reactive and focus on, I want to execute techniques. I don't want to.
So come in with a game plan?
Not necessarily a game plan,
Okay.
just an overall approach of like, I'm not trying to win this match. I'm trying to execute technique. So you could make it like, today I'm going to work on getting triangles, but early on it's pretty hard to do that.
But for somebody that's better, that's an approach for them.
Right.
If they wanna increase their technical ability.
Yeah. To get better at being technical, you need to focus on being technical. It's the way you approach your training. Most people approach when they shake hands and start rolling is just a fight.
Right. And you're not saying don't go hard.
No.
Right. You're not saying don't use strength. But what it sounds like to me and what I tell people is that you don't want to use strength to make the move work. Right. You want to make the move work, then you could possibly finish it with strength.
Right.
Right. So have it so you can use it. Don't use it just
Yeah,
because
I'd
you
never
have
say
it.
not to use strength.
Yeah, that's a
the thing to say.
ludicrous concept.
But the strength should be just an aid to your technique. The technique
Right.
is the most important.
The strength should be magnified by the technique, not
Right.
the other way around. The technique doesn't get magnified by the strength.
Right. But in order to be more technical, you need to focus on performing techniques and not just competing and trying to, not just being reactive and not letting things happen and being defensive. It's a matter of like executing the techniques in like a sort of process or a system.
Now, what about flow rolling? The idea of give, take, back and forth, nice and easy movement.
I think it's super. I think that's super valuable. I look at flow rolling as just like sort of like live drilling or like unscripted drilling.
Okay.
And that's how I treat, like when I roll with like a really small white belt or even like a blue belt or somebody that's like much bigger than.
You look like a cat playing with a mouse right now. Like
That's how I treat. That's how I treat small blue belts and
Gotcha.
white belts. But it allows you Kyle Sermonera wrote a great blog post called "Greater Than, Less Than, Equal To" about
Yes,
how to get better.
I did read that.
It's
Yeah.
really good, and me and him have talked about it a lot. About you want to practice your moves on people that you're greater than, so like you can do whatever you want to them. So focus on doing like one thing over and over and over again, and then people that you're less than. I forget how he worked it out, but people that you're less than, people that are better than you, those are the people that you need to sort of test yourself against once in a while to measure your progress.
Right.
But just training with people that smash you all the time doesn't make you better.
Right. You just get used to
You just
getting
get smashed. You
all
might
the
get
time.
tough,
Right.
but
for
you're not
sure.
going to get technical.
What about the idea? And I'm a big fan of this. Is picking. Let's say if you're working on triangles and putting yourself. Well, triangle might be a bad example, but just say you're saying cross side escapes. All right. We're doing a 1-to-1 drilling situation. I get cross side. You're underneath. You escape. We reset back to cross side so that you're kind of getting in a 6-minute match. You're getting 100 reps of that escape, and the guy on top is getting 100 reps of trying to pin you.
I usually do that. So this last couple of weeks we've been doing mount escapes. So I show a mount escape, we drill it a little bit, and then we do mount escape rounds where person on bottom, you have 3 minutes, you just have to escape. Person on top can submit you, do whatever they want, control you. But the person on bottom for those 3 minutes, it's not about like defending. It's about
Getting out.
just escaping.
So what would you consider getting out? Half guard, guard?
Guard, not half guard. Guard, standing up, or reversal.
Okay, bump and roll or
Yeah,
something to that effect. Okay.
And like next week we're doing side mount escapes, so we'll do a similar thing.
Right. And I think that's an underutilized tool, the very specific, almost one-to-one idea of I have one job, you have one job, whoever wins, then we reset back to that
Right, because
position.
a lot of times in a regular roll, what happens is you get in a bad position and you just wait.
And you're in the mount for 3 minutes and you get to try to get out of it
You
once.
wasted like your whole round
Yeah.
being defensive. When
And I think early on in people's careers, getting that extra time in those bad positions it will be super helpful.
yeah,
All right. I think
that's a great question, TJ.
Yeah. From out of the mouths of white belts.
Yeah,
All right. You're up.
it's from one of my former students, Adam Reggie Mills.
Reggie?
Yeah,
Good for him.
I forget how it worked. I think his name was Reggie, but he went by Adam, or maybe the other way around. His name was Adam, he went by Reggie for some reason. I don't know. But he was a really talented guy, but I haven't seen him in a long time. Any tips for balancing work, family, and training? If someone can only commit to consistently attending 2 days a week, an hour each day, is it worth it?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Any type of training, even 2 hours a week, is better than 0 hours a week. It's just simple math.
Right.
But
A bad hour of training is better than no hours of training.
But to really, like, I think the heart of the question is any tips for balancing work, family, and training? I think the tip is prioritizing the training, right? You know, like if you make it a priority, then you'll be able to get there those 2 hours a week, even if you have a crazy busy schedule. If it's not a priority, then you won't.
Right.
Right. And that's really what it comes down to. If it's a priority to train and get better and eventually become a black belt, then you'll do what's necessary to be able to get in 2 days a week to get your training in.
Yeah, if you're going in 2 days a week, you just make the most out of those 2 days. Like it's not necessarily, sometimes putting a severe constraint on your training can make it better. Like if you can train 7 days a week, how much are you putting into those 7 days? You might be half-assing it,
Right.
5 out of those 7. So you're
Right.
really only getting 2 hard days a week anyway. But if you go in and you only have 2 days a week, you get everything you can out of those 2 days, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's-
But what tips do you have for him for balancing the work, family, and training?
don't look at training as something that'll I know he's been training for a long time.
Okay.
Like off and on. So I know that he likes training. It's like important to him. So start looking at training as something that will it's going to help your family and work.
Add value to your life.
It's not going to, like you being at the gym for an hour a week isn't going to,
Make you a worse person.
it's not going to make you a worse father.
Yeah.
It's going to make you a better
father.
father.
Yes.
It's not going to make you a worse employee. You're going to be more focused at work. You'll be
Right.
more relaxed at
Because
work.
you give yourself that hour and a half a day to wipe the slate clean, to be around like-minded people that are working towards goals, to be in a healthy environment.
Yeah.
Or do you
Not
wanna-
just that, but at some point, you can get your child into it, and it's something you can share with your child.
100 One of my building the memories, especially with my daughter right now,
Mm-hmm.
of having her. She just wants to come to the jiu-jitsu gym just to hang out now.
Yeah,
Like she likes just
Yeah.
being around it. It's awesome.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see that because I have a couple, like the whole family's trained now.
Well, I mean, how do you think Devin started
Yeah.
training with him?
Yeah,
'Cause
we
his
had-
son trains.
A couple like kids came in, and then the parents came in. Now the parents are doing Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
and
no,
like-
it's really good. Like it's a good family
yeah, I have a-
activity.
it's awesome because now it's like it's what they do like for fun. They'll come in on a Friday night and they'll roll around, hit the bags. It's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So incorporate work, family, and training all into.
Right, and like it's your mental. You're not training. You're keeping your mental health, your sanity.
Yeah.
In that hour. If you look at it that way, then it can really become staying sane and being happy is a priority. Should be a priority in everybody's life. And if this is what keeps you sane and makes you happy, why would you not do it at least 2 hours a week? Like everybody has 2 hours a week.
Even 1 hour a week.
Because then you have that 1 hour. So imagine what your week is like if you're that busy and you have this 1 hour, these 2 hours that you're always looking forward to.
Where you don't have to think about your family, your work, any of that stuff. It's like you're just focusing on the guy you're rolling
not getting
with.
your arm
Right,
broken.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, but that's like that. People ask me like, what's the biggest benefit for you in jiu-jitsu? And even today, like I trained today. I haven't been able to train for a few days because of the going to Detroit, but training with somebody, I can't worry about anything else other than what's going on in that moment. You really are in the moment because otherwise things happen like it happened to Juan when he trains with Devin, getting his knee destroyed.
He did it himself.
Not to make fun of Juan, but just saying like he was probably in the moment. But being in the moment's always better than not. And being able to wipe the slate clean through jiu-jitsu, it's the most satisfying thing that I have going on outside of my family.
Yeah, like I know like times I've been in like very stressful times in my life where I would like go in and train, like going into training feeling like completely freaked out, and coming out of training like,
Dude, I was
deal.
like, I wanted to train so bad. I feel great right now, even though I tweaked my back. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm fine with this tweak back because I got to train.
feels right.
Yeah. All right, next question. This is from Bill Bell. He's a NJMA 4-stripe blue belt. He also helps teach our fundamentals classes and our kids classes. Very, very talented, hard worker as well. What major skills and milestones do you think should be reached or acquired at each belt in the color track? Do you recall any specific goals you set for yourself in a particular belt level? Do you think there's anything belt-wise, a blue belt should be able to execute this, a purple belt should be able to execute that?
I think the blue belt, you should just understand basics. Purple belt, you should start developing sort of like your own style. Brown belt, you start sharpening that style, and like, you know, you'll figure out like the techniques that you sort of gravitate to. You start figuring that out. And then the brown belt, you sort of make it sharp, make it good. Black belt is just going, that's when the rest of your life you got to explore what you've already learned, plus you got to keep adding.
Right. So no real
I can't think of any.
technique.
I can't
more
say like
concept.
like you need to be good at a triangle by the time you're a purple
Because,
belt.
look, I mean, Bill Bell's a 250-pound, power, former power lifter. Like
Right.
maybe being a master of the triangle is not in the cards for him
Right.
on a regular basis, especially against the sizes of dudes he may be competing against. But I think you're right, kind of having that idea of the understanding the deeper concepts of jiu-jitsu as you move along, being able to express them in a certain way, but also figuring out your own style. I think for me, some of the milestones, I really didn't have, because I always tell the story, like when I got my blue belt, I was the worst blue belt in the room. When I got my purple belt, I was the worst purple belt. When I got my brown belt, I was the worst brown belt. And when I got my black belt, here I am, however many.
The best black belt.
I'm not
Somehow
the
you
best.
became the best black
Yeah,
belt.
I'm not the best, not the worst either. But it was one of the, people say, well, isn't everybody like that? I go, no, you go to some place, the guy gets his brown belt and you're like, Jesus, is already a really good brown belt because either got held back or whatever. For me, when I was coming up, one of the important things that really drove me was the guys that I knew were better than me would seek me out to train because even though maybe they were using me as the less than, I'd still give them a good run, and then they would always give me help and guidance before, during, or after.
Yeah.
So being like, for the really good guys, a go-to training partner is something that you should, especially at the lower ranks, you should want to be. If the better guys aren't asking you to train on a regular basis,
There's something wrong with you.
there's something wrong with you. So make sure, like, okay, am I doing? Am I training?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, you made a good point today.
Hey,
work.
broken clock is right a couple times a day as my back starts to stiffen.
The only sort of goal, like hard goal that I had at any belt was I wanted to fight as a black belt. Because I started
compete or fight it
fight,
like
MMA fight.
Okay. Did you wait? You didn't wait till you got your black belt though, right? You fought well before your black belt.
No, I didn't fight until I just got my black belt when I fought. I had signed to fight as a brown belt and took.
So sport fighting, you were already a black belt?
Yep.
Interesting.
I got it. I think
What year was that?
sport fighting was December
Okay.
2005. I think I got my black belt in October 2005.
Man, talk about whatever.
I think.
Anyway,
Might have
so
been November.
So what were you saying? So you're
Like when I started, like jiu-jitsu was more about fighting
then competing.
than it was more about. It was basically the way I looked at jiu-jitsu was like it's the ultimate martial art.
Right.
You could if you
No, but when I
could-
say
if you know
competing, like
jiu-jitsu, you
I
can-
got into jiu-jitsu for the UFC, not because of the
Right.
IBJJF.
right.
Yeah.
And I got into after I got into UFC for the after I got into the BJJ because of the UFC, then I got into the IBJJF
Right.
after that.
Yeah, right.
And I did that, but then I still felt like I wanted to. There was a part of me that thought like I'm not a real black belt if I don't prove it in the ring. Like the guys that I watched growing up.
Hoist Gracie,
Yeah,
Hickson.
not that I believe that for everybody. It's gonna. That was just a personal thing for a personal goal for myself.
But also that was your personal and kind of talking about a podcast, the podcast for a true martial artist.
The podcast for
A.
the true martial artist.
Wait, but aren't we the podcast for a true martial artist?
No.
What are we?
Most people have.
The for the.
So
I have
our
anyway, but-
South African friend says the for the.
Okay.
And most of the fans have responded to me.
You don't get any of the
for
emails though. Is the problem? But anyway,
No, I get face to face.
Yeah,
It's
fine.
more realistic.
yeah, sure. So
Anybody can send an
what
email.
were
You
we
guys.
saying? Yeah. So we got sidetracked there. You were saying for fighting. It's not for
No,
everybody.
It was a
But-
personal goal of mine, not
you're-
something I.
So what's
enforce
interesting
on
with
anybody
that
else.
is that your path as a martial artist is what took you through fighting.
Right.
And a lot of people, they use MMA fighting as a competitive, just to be able to compete more.
Right. They just want to fight.
They just want to fight, and when they're done fighting, they don't even train anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So somebody like you you are the for the, in
Right.
that sense, right? That you fought and you train probably more now. You're doing more jiu-jitsu now.
Way more
than-
jiu-jitsu now than when I fought. Yeah.
Yeah, good question, Bill Bell. But make sure, and Bill is one of those guys that, especially the bigger good guys, want to train with because he gives everybody a good go. Next question. This came from another Gorilla Mail account. These guys love sending.
So
us
wait,
the
Gorilla Mail? I can sign up for Gorilla Mail and send people anonymous emails?
Yeah, it'll come from like q74b@gorillamail.com. So hello, do you partake or suggest any activities to help speed up recovery time, whether it be between regular classes or before or after competition, such as sports massage or any other kind of therapy or activity? Also, thank you for creating this podcast. Anonymous.
Nice.
So what tips do you have for recovery?
I've done pretty much everything. I've done acupuncture, Rolfing.
Love Rolfing.
Rolfing's good.
Yeah.
The problem with acupuncture, Rolfing, like sports massage, it's very expensive.
Yes.
So it's something you can, like for most people, you can do it once in a while.
Or when you have a specific injury that
Or
you want to get
you
treated.
have something you need to get worked out. I think those things are great. I've done cryo. Cryo's cool.
Never done cryo.
No pun intended.
Heyo.
But what I use the most is the sauna.
Okay.
I've been doing that a lot actually, and my body's been feeling pretty good. The other thing
Heat shock proteins.
the heat shock and cold shock proteins are super important. Kyle Sermonera told me all about the shock proteins.
I'm a fan of the sauna as well, but also the cold pool after.
Cold plunge. Yeah, I don't always have access to that, so sometimes at the gym,
Just do a quick
'cause
cold shower.
I go to a LA Fitness right by my house.
Okay.
And I use the sauna there, and they have a shower right next to it, so sometimes I just do cold water in the shower.
Back and forth. Yeah, I think so. They have Devin. Have you ever been to the Russian sauna in Southampton?
No.
Dude, so you would think it's like
You would
this
love
weird
it.
place. It's awesome. They have one of the hottest saunas you ever been in. The sauna is as big as your building. It's like 30 Russian
But
dudes.
you got to get in a cold shower. I'm African. I'm not doing that for white people.
No, they do. They sometimes they have them. They call soul sweats.
Yeah.
Heat is cool for us, but I'm telling you, that
You don't like
polar
cold
bear
water?
stuff, absolutely no way. It's literally painful.
I mean, it is.
So they have a 36-degree pool right next to the sauna. So you
That
come
you-
out and you just jump in the pool.
And your body goes into crazy shock.
Nope.
It's amazing. So yeah, I would definitely recommend if you have a Russian sauna near you or the ability to do hot and cold treatments back and forth, your body will thank you. It
And-
really is amazing.
Another thing that I've been doing recently that seems to be really helping is doing just sort of like some sort of like easy cardio. Like I've been doing elliptical for like 15 minutes to a half hour a couple times a week.
Prior, after, during.
Like when I wake up in the morning.
Okay.
So it's just like, because I wake up usually like very stiff and sore,
Okay.
and what I used to do is just like sit on the couch, drink coffee, do work on the computer,
Right.
and then go through the rest of my day stiff and sore, and then go train and be. I don't know what that meant.
I don't know. We're probably at 55 minutes. Yes. All right. We might be going over today if that's cool.
So getting loose, like breaking a sweat in the morning and getting blood pumping through your body, and then going in the sauna. That's been like for the last I've been doing it for about a month, and my body feels like really good right now.
Yeah, I think
No
also
injuries.
depending on your age, because this will be age specific, a proper warm up before training.
Not dependent on your age. Always good to do.
But when you're younger, it's you don't think you need it.
The less you warm up when you're young, the more you're going to need
Need
to
it
warm
when
up.
you're,
When
yeah,
you're
yeah. So a proper warm up. If you have an Airdyne, I'm a big fan of the Airdyne before training. Do a few rounds on that. But yeah, so I think Tim's right. The hot and the cold is probably the best thing going. All right, I'm going to read this one.
Yeah, you read this one.
My coach, a former Bellator light heavyweight contender and current up-and-coming atomweight podcaster, has called me out in class for favoring meathead techniques such as toe holds, and he has referred publicly to me as a dirty grappler. What gives? I thought this was a martial art and combat sport, so it raises a few questions for me. Should some moves be deemed more true to jiu-jitsu versus meathead moves? Should smothers, mufflers, butt drags, dominator chokes, and other aggressive techniques be frowned upon in training, not as a bully, but against someone your own size or skill level? In general, what is the place of size, strength, and physicality in jiu-jitsu? And what is your view of the concept of jiu-jitsu for everyone and the gentle art? Sincerely, Matt Meathead, a.k.a. Matt Richmond, Hellfish Brown Belt, former NJMA student.
It doesn't say that there.
No, I added that in. So, because I wasn't sure if you'd read it if I put it there. So, hey, Matt, I'll address your concerns.
I don't
here,
know if
'cause
I've ever.
I don't
I don't know
look,
if I said toe holds were meathead moves. He does a lot of meathead moves.
So
He got me with one a while ago. Where he had my.
Oh, is that, so now we get to the whole
not
reason.
with a toe hold. Never got me.
No. But
one's-
so he tapped you out with a meathead move, and now you've gone anti Matt Richmond. Is what
I've
it
always
feels
been anti Matt Richmond.
like. Okay. So I think that the real question comes at the very end, right? In general, what is the place of size, strength, and physicality in jiu-jitsu, and what is your view of the concept of jiu-jitsu for everyone in the gentle art? So I do truly believe that jiu-jitsu is for everyone. I do truly believe it is a gentle art.
I disagree about it being for everyone. It's not for everyone.
Oh, it's not?
No.
I think it is for everyone.
I
I think
think-
at a certain degree, everybody can do it.
Everybody.
There's no limiting factor.
I didn't say that.
There's no limiting factor to it being for everyone.
There is.
What is it?
Some people don't like it, and some people aren't cut out for it. Some people are
That's
too
not a
soft
limiting
for it.
factor. That's a decision. That's a decision. They've decided that it's not for them.
That decision is a limiting factor.
It is not. Jiu-jitsu continues to be for them. They're just not for jiu-jitsu. That's different. Them not being for jiu-jitsu is different than jiu-jitsu not being
I
for
do
them.
not disagree that jujitsu. Everyone can do jujitsu,
Yes.
but I don't want everyone to do
So
jujitsu.
so let's go into the idea of the meathead move.
Right.
Is Matt a meathead?
In a certain sense,
How so?
no, he's not. He's a very intelligent, intellectual guy with good technique, but at the same time, he'll muffle your face. There's no need to do that in training. And again, this goes back to the being technical thing that I was talking about. It's not competing like that holds you back from getting better.
So do you think so? You calling him a dirty grappler is a way of motivating him to be more technical
Yes.
through destructive
And
criticism.
I'll give you an example.
Yes.
We were doing one of those escape rounds where his job was to escape. And normally I like a lot of what he does in jiu-jitsu because he has a very sort of Gracie-esque style where he doesn't exert a lot of energy and he's good at catching things.
Okay.
He's good at sort of setting you up and
because
catching.
I set up his base and foundation. But go ahead.
Right. But he using that style during an escape round where the job was to escape, he just defended
Okay.
and wasted about 2.5 minutes. Just not getting submitted is very easy.
Yeah.
If you don't want to engage with somebody.
Okay.
But that's one of the limiting things is that approach to jiu-jitsu of just being stiff and not letting anybody get anything on you.
So he wasn't following the rule set that you had set forth.
Right.
Right. So maybe either you didn't clearly define the rule set or he didn't understand.
Right.
Okay. But you've according to him, you've called him out publicly as a dirty grappler.
Well, I think
He wants to know. He
it's
wants to
not
know
just
what.
me.
He wants to know what gives.
Everyone has called him out as a dirty grappler because of the mufflers, the butt drags, all
What?
these, the smothers, the mufflers, the butt drags, your favorite moves are the reason that people say that you're a dirty grappler.
Okay.
And it's not just coming from me,
Right.
because I actually enjoy his style a lot. It's
Right.
effective.
No,
I've seen-
he's very good. He's
very
a
good.
handful for
Yeah.
sure.
And even in competition, he did a couple of submission only competitions.
And did well for himself.
Very good.
Yeah.
And so I've had a couple students that get really into doing like
Non-traditional techniques.
it's not even that they're not traditional. Like I firmly believe like in competition that if you need to squeeze the guy's face to make him tap, then you should squeeze his face to make him tap. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like that's
competition.
competition. When you're training, you shouldn't be applying moves that are just making people uncomfortable. And you know what I mean? The technique you should use should either break something if they don't tap, or they should fall asleep if they don't tap.
Okay.
It shouldn't be based on like discomfort, like a neck crank. You know what I mean?
So you don't think a neck crank is a good technique?
Not for training, no,
Okay.
not at all. Because it doesn't. There's been times where I've been in a neck crank and I've tapped because I didn't want my neck to be hurting the next day.
You didn't want to have.
But if it was a
herniated
competition,
disc.
but if it was a competition, I would not have tapped.
Okay.
If I was engaged in an MMA fight, I wouldn't have tapped. I would have just kept going and like probably got out and been okay.
Okay.
So that's people. Most people in training aren't in that death mode competitive frame of mind.
Right.
So it's harmful to yourself because you can develop a false sense of like how
What,
strong your submissions are.
what are you saying, that he just trains too hard, or the techniques
No.
he uses?
No, it just he likes the dirty moves that make him a dirty grappler. He likes dirty moves. He likes that kind of stuff.
Do they make him an effective grappler? Are people tapping out?
Yes,
They need to get better at defending them.
for sure.
Okay.
But in order to make him, if he wants to truly progress, you should focus less on doing smothers, mufflers, butt drags, and dominator chokes, and doing more
I don't.
sweeps.
What's wrong
guard
with
passes.
butt drags? Is like actually a pretty technical technique usually, isn't it?
It's not really technical.
No?
It's again, it's relying on sticking your fingers into someone's anus to make them uncomfortable enough to let go of your leg. That's what the
No,
butt drag.
you're talking about oil checking.
It's the same thing.
Okay. All right.
I mean, it's basically the same thing. If somebody's in on like a single leg, you reach behind, you jam all your fingers into their crevice of their butt, and you pull and drag. No matter how deep your fingers get, that's
You're just separating some cheeks. Hey.
like, and again, so if we just gave the advice to Bill Bell, people won't want to train with you because, like, I want to get better at jiu-jitsu. I don't want to be involved in a situation where I have a guy not doing anything, covering my face for no reason.
You've never. I mean, I haven't trained with them an awful lot lately, but I've never seen him do that. But I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
No, I mean, when me and him roll, we do it like we're like smashing each other in the wall.
Right.
We're like,
You guys are like brothers going.
Yeah,
at
it's
each other.
fun.
Yeah.
but
Because all this, because he's an awesome dude.
for sure, yeah.
One of my favorite people.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
And like I said, like I enjoy like when me and him go, we like kick each other in the chest. We're
Right.
like,
I want him to continue to do this to all your students.
I'm saying, and
So,
it's,
'cause
this
I-
is like I'm not saying this to protect anyone in the gym. I'm
Right.
saying it for him to get better at jiu-jitsu.
So what I'm saying is, for you to make your students better, you need to start teaching them how to defend these meathead moves.
But so smothers don't do anything.
They don't.
You don't pass people's guard by smothering them. You don't submit them by smothering them. You don't. It doesn't. It's just annoying. You know what I mean? It's not making you better at jiu-jitsu. I guess a smother is like, I guess he's considering like when you're mounted on somebody, you just like
Hug their face.
you hug their face.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's again, it's just annoying. You're just making somebody uncomfortable. You're not going to put them to sleep, and nothing's going to break.
Right.
Mufflers, again, just annoying. Butt drags, just kind of
Could be fun depending on the day of the week.
depends on who you're with.
Yeah.
Dominator chokes, it's effective. I don't really have an issue with dominator chokes.
Okay. Okay. So what about the other point of you calling him out for doing these moves in class?
Again, it's for his benefit, not to protect anybody else.
Okay.
It's just for his
So
benefit.
you're saying this is tough love.
Yeah, it's just so he gets better at things in jiu-jitsu.
He's going to be listening.
Mm-hmm.
What should he be doing to get better at jiu-jitsu?
Focus on, again, everything you just said here. Smothers, mufflers, butt drags, dominator chokes. Stop doing that. Not that you shouldn't ever do those, just that,
You're mixing signals here.
well, you have to understand there's competition, do all that.
Whatever it takes.
Butt drag the person and then muffle them with it. You know what I mean? Like, go for it.
Maybe give him pink eye in the
Yes.
in the in-between.
When you're training, you should be focused on getting better at techniques, not at muffling people.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's the whole point. I had a student years ago who was this big. He was like 300 pounds. He was a monster, and he was a purple or brown belt.
Fat body?
Chubby,
Okay.
soft, smooth.
Smooth. Okay.
But he would headlock everybody, and
Nobody could get out.
I mean, I could get out pretty easy. Some people could get out, but he was just like he was headlocking people, and it was like his go-to move.
And he got to this rank and level by doing this.
And it's the headlock is a kind of move where you can only do it if you're bigger, stronger, and better than the person already.
Right.
So it's not like a kind of technique that you're gonna save yourself with. It's just like, so I told him, I was like, look, for the next month, you can only use arm bars, triangles, and kimuras.
I think that's a good advice.
That's the only submissions you can
the
use.
same advice you're going to give Matt Richmond now?
No, he has the thing with him is he's better than these moves. He just does them to annoy people. This is where I have an issue with the question, because the only reason he does this is to be dirty. And then he takes issue with someone calling him a dirty like he's got great technique. He has one of the best guillotines. He does. He's very technical with a lot of jiu-jitsu.
And his top pressure is pretty brutal.
Yeah, he's great. But if he wants to know what gives, you said it all yourself. I mean, you put it all in this question. So I don't need to. I mean,
apparently, Matt, Tim is using tough love to get you better.
And the thing about jiu-jitsu for everyone and gentle art, I heard Hickson talk about. He said that it doesn't necessarily mean gentle. It could also mean soft, meaning sort of pliable, malleable.
Right.
So it could be not necessarily meaning gentle as in like being nice. Flexible open to interpretation.
Right. Yeah. No. I still think that jiu-jitsu can be for everyone. It can be a gentle art, but at some of its highest levels, it is a very brutal and physical sport.
And one more thing on this issue: no one, when you think about the best guys in jiu-jitsu, you don't think of somebody butt dragging someone, muffling them, smothering them. You think about guys that have amazing technique and are able to sort of like dominate their opponents and make it look easy. Those are the people you should sort of be looking at and emulating, and not necessarily copying their style or technique, but like understanding like what it is that makes them good is not smothers, mufflers, butt drags, and dominator chokes.
Gotcha. All right. Next question. Tim Carpenter, can you read it? It's from our dear friend.
Wait. Oh, this is a long question. Last podcast, you guys touched on how it is silly to give a belt in no-gi grappling. As a no-gi grappler, I agree. But I think the belt is just to symbolize someone's level. Obviously, it will never be worn. I've always wanted to implement a belt system to the wrestlers I train. I struggle with how and when the belt should be given. Should belts be given when a student wins certain competitions, dominating everyone in the room? Or dominating everyone in the room? Or should they be given when they are proficient in certain skill sets? What if they can perfectly drill the techniques but get manhandled in live training? Interested in your input. Multiple part question. Kyle Sermonera, Gordon Ryan, blue belt.
All-American wrestler, high-level wrestling coach.
Obviously, he's more proud of the blue belt.
I wrote that in there.
Oh.
Yeah.
So this question applies the same to jiu-jitsu or whatever you're doing in wrestling.
I think not necessarily, but go ahead.
Because
most
should they be given when they're at a proficient certain skill set? The way I do promotions is based on the individual's progression through jiu-jitsu. Like there's not a
right, but in wrestling, there's the idea is it's for competition.
Right.
So anybody that I doubt that he has anybody that's wrestling that's not an active wrestling competitor.
Right.
So that's where the difference lies between wrestling and a for fun jiu-jitsu student.
Right.
So I think a bigger slice of what becomes important to promoting people is through competitive success, because if you're going to use that, okay, you're a white belt, blue belt, purple belt, whatever, then the competitive success has to be a factor in that. If they are not having the competitive success, then your second tier of promotional, the way you promote them and at a slower pace would be through their technical proficiency.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in jiu-jitsu, you never have to compete.
But it's
for that.
it's different. So if I have a guy that
It's
really
clear-
wants to
it's
compete,
clearly different than
then he's
different
gonna
sports.
get promoted based on how he does in competition.
Right.
But if I have a person that doesn't like competing,
But in jiu-jitsu, you do have some of those people that compete a little bit, not a lot. You know what I'm saying? Where it's
Right.
like, okay, what am I basing their promotions on?
I don't base it. If they're a very recreational competitor, I don't base it on competition at all. You know what I mean? Because there's people that like they just compete once in a while just for fun.
Right.
You know, and those people, competition isn't really what I would base their
So,
promotion
so
on.
then what if that person that competes is having some failures, but they're doing everything else that they need to do to progress?
So, like I would say, a competitor is held to a different standard than a average student. So,
Okay.
if someone is like, I want to compete and I want to do this and this and this, then it's like, okay, then you need to, before you get your blue belt, you're gonna have to win a bunch of white belt tournaments.
Gotcha. All right, but let's
If you're a recreational guy and you do one white belt tournament and you went out there and lost, it's not going to necessarily hold you back from getting a blue belt in a month after that.
But let's go back to how you would make something like this work in wrestling, right? Because there's no gi
Well, I
for
think
belts.
it's the same thing. If you
No,
have,
no. But what I'm saying is like, how would you functionally make this work? They would use rash guards, shorts. A wristband.
I would probably say rash guards,
I think so.
just
too.
different
Yeah.
colored rash guards.
So would you follow the same? Would you advise him to follow the same belt scheme that jiu-jitsu has: white, blue, purple, brown, black?
I think so. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. Any kind of time in between, like how from white to blue, X amount of time, from blue to purple, minimum time requirements at each rank.
I'd say more age requirements. I'd say you shouldn't be able to get a black belt in wrestling until you're in college.
Okay, so you have to be at least 18 years old.
Yeah,
Okay.
something
all
like
right.
that. And then maybe even like just like jiu-jitsu, like you can't be a blue belt until you're
So you're
because
16.
so the thing is, I think that'd be great for kids wrestling, is to have like a more like the IBJJF belt system where there's a lot more. There's like white, gray and white, orange. Like all those belts would be great to have, or rash guards would be great to have for kids in a wrestling program, because you could have a huge kids wrestling program and not all those kids are going to be competitive monsters, but doesn't mean they're not going to love wrestling.
Right, and that can mean that they're still going to compete. They have
Right,
to.
they're going to be
Yeah.
competing, yeah.
Yeah.
So, with kids promotions aren't, and there's no other promotion system in wrestling, so it's not like you're comparing like the kid be like, well, I'm an orange belt, but I lost to a guy he's a white belt.
Right. So then let me ask you
Or a
this
rash
then.
guard.
Do you think, would the culture of wrestling accept a ranking system? Because it would be a non-standard way of approaching it, right? I mean, wrestling.
I think it's just a private thing for the gym. I think it's good for the kids, especially good for the kids that
Like the
aren't
young-
that
the
great
younger
competitively.
kids?
Yeah, but especially for kids that aren't that great competitively, could open up wrestling to people that aren't in it to be all American wrestlers. It could open up wrestling for kids that are into martial arts too.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think it would be a great thing. I think Askren does it.
yeah, my understanding is he does. Yeah, I don't know how he what
I think
he does.
he did belts.
Like actual physical belts,
I think he did. I think that's what sailboat.
tugboat.
Sailboat. Harrison told me.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like the only thing that I would kind of think through on this is it would be such a departure from what the norm is in wrestling right now, that if you do it, what risks are you running by implementing it?
I don't think there's any.
No,
No,
there's
I
no
mean,
downside.
What would be the downside? Like, what do you like? Somebody at a wrestling meet will make fun of you, like, oh, those guys use belts. I think they're jujitsu guys.
Right, or they have an orange. Oh, what's that orange rash guard
Yeah.
for?
And then if your kid goes out there and smashes their kid, then what the fuck's he gonna say about your promotion system?
Yeah, right. Probably nothing.
Obviously, it works.
Yeah. So, Kyle, our advice is,
Do it.
well, it's an opportunity to also sell rash guards, or if you get them made, or whatever you decide to use.
Friendship bracelets,
Friendship
snap bracelets.
snaps, whatever. But
With wrestling, you could do shoelaces.
it would be kind of tough to tell, wouldn't it?
Huh?
Wouldn't it be just kind of tough to tell? Like,
It doesn't. I mean, it's for kids in the school.
as I'm saying, even like we have to look, I got to look down at somebody's feet to know
Oh,
what rank they are.
Yeah, that's really hard.
Right, but then I
Man,
gotta
that was
stand.
tough. Your eyesight's not that great. So for you, it might be tough.
Bro. Come on, man. I have an actual physical. I'm blind in my left eye.
I know. Like our other buddy.
Who's our other buddy? Who's our other buddy?
The blind guy that can see fairly well.
The guy that you think is faking his blindness?
Oh, I don't think he's faking. I'm pretty sure. He just has a new definition of blind. I don't know.
Oh, by the way, I'm getting it checked out in a week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we'll let the fans know how my left eye blindness hopefully can be fixed and or reversed. But yeah, so going back to Kyle, do it. I say rash guards. This way the kids don't have to look down at shoelaces. Shoelaces would just kind of weird.
Okay.
So you would say shoelaces?
Shoelaces.
That's a terrible idea.
The shoes are bigger in wrestling. Like, that's like when somebody retires, they leave their shoes on the mat. So it's a little bit different.
They leave a rash guard. Yeah.
And I think don't jiu-jitsu guys, when they quit, they leave their belt on the mat. Isn't that something that somebody did recently?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's all kind of
But
nonsense.
I was just thinking that's what made me think of it, is that shoes, and wrestlers seem to be really into their shoes. So,
Okay.
like the famous wrestlers have their own kind of.
Rulon Jones.
Rulon Jones has his own shoe. Yeah.
All right, man. Well,
That's it for questions?
Yeah. We've lost the sound engineer again. So we're going to have to keep going until he comes back. Or
Do we? We could just stop.
Yeah, we can just end it now.
And then okay.
Yeah. I think we're done. Tim and I would like to thank our sound engineer and studio owner, Devin Wade, for always doing a great job with the sound, but also the beautiful facility that we get to use here at SFX Studios. We'd also like to thank Eddie Lynn, who takes and donates his time to the podcast to do all the video editing and everything you see on our social media. So really appreciate that from Eddie Lynn. And we'd also like to thank our friend Ralphie Darden, a.k.a. DJ Major Taylor, who gave us the original music that we use. So you're welcome, Tim.
And almost just as importantly as everybody else that he mentioned, we would like to thank all of our listeners that submitted questions.
This is the Ninja Rock Podcast with Marco Perazzo and Tim Carpenter. The podcast for the true martial artist.